Hi, this is Regeline Sabat, also known as Gigi, and you're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Cathy Derksen. Cathy is a wealth and success coach, #1 best-selling author, and international speaker. Welcome to the show, Cathy.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. It's an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where you are from?
Well, I'm in Canada. So I am on the west coast of Canada in the Vancouver area. A bit about me. My company is called Inspired Tenacity. My mission in the company is to create a cycle of wealth and success among women around the world. So I'm really focused on helping women to rediscover their own brilliance and to step into the life they really want to be living. And so a bit about me. I have 2 kids. I've had a few careers now. So I actually started out in medical genetics many years ago. And from there, I've been in financial planning for many years and just recently left my corporate job to really focus on my business so that I can be of service to women the ways that I feel is most needed.
I love it. Now, tell us more about your company, Inspired Tenacity.
Well, Inspired Tenacity, it's a name that I get mixed kind of comments on. So some people go, Inspired Tenacity, what does that mean? And then other people go, wow, I love that name. So it came about to me years ago when I was going through a lot of big transitions in my life. And with those challenges, there was just that need to just keep moving forward. And those words really hit home for me. And I've come to realize that those are 2 of the key factors for really creating any kind of big changes, transformations, building success in our life. So that first we need that inspiration of what do you really want? And then the tenacity to just keep at it until you get there, like never giving up, just keeping on at it. And the word in the middle that I always like to include is courage. And that's so the inspiration, then the courage, then the tenacity to just keep at it. So that's where that name came from. And so just focusing really on creating that community where women can come together, get the support, get the information, get just that inspiration again is really where I like to focus on getting women to rethink where they're at and to realize that there's so much more that they're capable of. And there's so many more gifts that they have to share with the world. So, living small, which is, where many of us have really got caught in that day-to-day, just doing life, but not really being inspired about it, not really focusing where we want to be living, but just really doing life instead of living life. So reignite your life is one of my key taglines. That is, stop just living small, step into it, shine bright.
I love it. And never give up. Very powerful message. Now, tell us more about your book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore.
Yes, that was my most recent book. So that's my 5th #1 bestseller that's been out. And so that one is a group of women that we've each contributed a story of a time in our lives where we felt invisible. And then how we got from that state of really feeling stuck and invisible to coming through that and finding success and, of course, stepping into now that invincible. And we're actually having a summit coming up. We've got a summit coming up in February where we will be, a group of the speakers will be getting together to teach on our subject matter that we've put together and to really, again, helping women to share their stories, to come together as a community with those stories and to realize you're not alone, that people can help you get through those things. And I think for a lot of us, community was a huge part of what got us through those challenging times in our life.
Amen. Very powerful. Now, you also have a background in the financial industry. Talk to us a little bit more about your inspiration to join that financial industry.
Well, my original education was in medical genetics and biology. And it really was at a time in my life where I was going through big changes of my own. And I recognized I was at a time in my life where I needed to stop and think, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm actually serving the community in the way that's right? And I realized that the job I had at the time, I was in a hospital lab most of the time. So really not no one-on-one people contact. And I recognize that I really am a people person and that I need to be in a role where I'm in that direct service to people. And at that time, I had a lot of my friends, my women friends, going through divorce and other life changes, and realizing that so many women get caught in these challenging times in life because of their finance. They don't understand what's next. They don't understand what direction to be going. And they end up making choices without the support they need and the understanding they need that could impact the rest of their life and their kids' lives. So I felt a calling, really, that my next role needed to be that person, that woman in that financial role that could be that go-to person to help women understand their choices, to feel comfortable in sharing their stories, and to be in a position where they could make good choices. And so I was working in financial planning for about 10 years in a corporate business sense, and just recognized that I was really, you're pushing products, you're really only speaking about those things that corporation is wanting you to speak about. Whereas I recognize there's so much more to our relationship with money, how it plays into our success. There are so many other parts of that working in that job I couldn't even begin to discuss. Things around mindset or your past experience, or what do you think about money? So if the messages that you've got in your head are, I'm always broke, I'm always struggling, I can't do this, the old ones about money doesn't grow on trees, and all those messages that we tell ourselves and those limitations that we've set for ourselves, that we need to get past those in order to actually create financial success and other types of success in our life as well. So that's one of the really big focuses now. So obviously I have that financial training and education that I can bring with me in my current business, but also focusing even more on those other parts, those parts of the limitations and where we're at and what's really stopping you from finding the success or going through the changes and just moving forward with your life. So I'm
Very
bringing it all
good.
together.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, tell us more about the major challenge that you had to overcome in your life.
Well, I guess there's been a few big challenges. The first one came about when I was in a marriage that was becoming very toxic, and both myself and my kids were suffering from the effects of the situation we were in. And I realized at that time that if I didn't make a big decision and make a big change, then things weren't going well. So things definitely needed to change big time. And so that's when I made the difficult decision to leave my marriage, set out on my own as a single mom with two kids. My kids are both teenagers at the time. And due to the family situation, they definitely were both struggling in finding their place in the world. So it was definitely a huge challenge to go out on my own. And that was when I made that big shift from working in the hospital lab to going off and doing financial planning instead. So as I mentioned, I was really going through a lot of self-reflection and building strength out of really rediscovering who I was and what I needed to be doing next. And so that was a huge one. And with the first few books that I've been involved in, I've shared a lot of those stories of just realizing that I was at a point that I just had to keep moving forward. I had to just make a decision on where I was going next and just keep going. In a couple of the books I mentioned, I actually had a little mantra, I guess you could say, a line that I would say to myself at a lot of those times that were really hard to get through and challenging. And it was just chin up, keep moving. And it was almost like nothing else can distract you. You just need to focus on chin up, keep moving. And that was it. So that was one of the biggest challenging times for me. And then, of course, going through life and, being a mom and having kids as they grow up, and then moving into that single mom part and going through major career changes definitely has added more challenges to my life. But I would say going through the divorce and just the whole shift of careers at that time was definitely the most challenging life situation that I've been through.
I love your phrase though, and the quote, chin up, keep moving. Very powerful. Such an inspiration. Thank you. Now, what is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
I think some of my best advice really is around be honest with yourself. Actually, allow yourself to think, what are the gifts that I have to bring to the world right now? What are those things that I know that I can share and I know would be of value to the community, but right now that you're not sharing those and you're playing small. So stop playing small, step up, share those gifts. Even it doesn't have to be your own business or changing a career completely, but just find ways to share those gifts, to be contributing those things to the community around you.
Absolutely amazing. Now, where can the audience find you, Cathy?
My website is pretty simple. So inspiredtenacity.com. I'm also on the social media that I'm most active on is LinkedIn, and I'm also on Clubhouse a lot. You can find me on Facebook, but I'm not as busy there. So definitely my website's probably the easiest way, inspiredtenacity.com.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Cathy at inspiredtenacity.com. And Cathy, thank you again for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. You have a blessed day.
Thank you very much for having me. Talk to you